When you talk about the 38, did I understand that there are 38 First Nations who are self-managed that you represent in your association? Is that correct? Okay, would you say then that your work is comparable to other police forces that exist on reserve, but for First Nations that are not self-managed? Is your work comparable to that?
It is. I know that all police services that are delivering service to the First Nation community strive to deliver a culturally sensitive and appropriate service delivery, and they realize that a lot of the communities they serve are short resources in other areas, and they take the necessary steps they have to engage with the community in addressing some of these issues. And it's not always. I think we realize that in a lot of ways enforcement is not going to solve a lot of the problems that we have in these communities. So we're always engaging with the communities to try and find other solutions, work with what resources we have, to help people, through their problems and just provide the best service that we can. And I know that you don't have to be a self-administered First Nations police service to do that. I know that the RCMP, the OPP, and the Sûreté de Québec strive hard to accomplish the same things.
I have a supplementary question. In fall 2017, last fall, the First Nations Assembly created a working group, a task force, to study the matter of cannabis. And I'm wondering, because I know that one of the areas that they were supposed to examine was the whole matter of justice. So law enforcement and the work of police officers. I'm wondering, do you have any... Were you part of that work with the First Nations Assembly? The Assembly of First Nations, rather? Did you have the opportunity to work with them?
Personally, I did not. Mr. Daniel Bellegarde, who's the chairman of our police service board, did participate in that as well. He's deeply engaged with the AFN and other organizations to get that work accomplished as well.
Merci. Ma question pour Monsieur Jack.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Jack. You referred to a survey, I believe, that you conducted on the public. Do you have data that is public that you could share with the committee, perhaps send to us? And I have a more specific question also on the perception of, regardless of the age of Canadians, on their ability to drive after having smoked pot. Absolutely. This is my response to the first question.
We actually have a piece of research underway at McGill that we should get results back on this summer, addressing part of your second question. One of the many pieces of research that's lacking right now is giving people the knowledge of how long they should wait after consuming a legal substance before they get behind the wheel. There's been scientific research, and most of us figure out by trial and error when it comes to alcohol, and we get lots of peer input on that and public education to tell us that a glass of wine with dinner is probably fine, maybe 2 over a whole evening. We all have in our head what we think we can do. That same knowledge doesn't exist in any form when it comes to cannabis right now. And so this piece of research being undertaken by Dr. Mark Ware at McGill will put youth in a driving simulator and under the influence of cannabis and try to get some preliminary results at least as to how long one should wait before driving. Because it's been an illegal substance, it hasn't, I think, cannabis simply hasn't been talked about that much. Officially, there hasn't been a lot of research put behind it. We see the lack of of good testing devices. I think partly that's because there hasn't been a huge market, a huge legal market that companies have been interested in investing in. We haven't had a large country like Canada wanting to buy thousands and over the years millions of these devices. We now do, so this is starting, but we're not there yet. And so I think that's a large part of the problem, is that we're very much at the beginning of this, and none of us was alive when alcohol was first regulated and put under a government regime, whenever that was. We're kind of in the same spot with cannabis in 2018.
Merci.
Merci, Madame le Sénateur. Monsieur